Welcome to the stage, the moderator for the last session of the day, Nikki Gonzalez. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, and thanks everybody for joining us for this last session here of the day. We're going to be talking about connected supply chains. So I want to introduce the speakers. I guess first I'll introduce myself. If you don't know me, my name is Nikki Gonzalez. I'm head of partnerships at QuoteBeam, which is a digital procurement platform focused on industrial automation components. And I will introduce my panelists here. We have, I'll let them give you a little bit of background as to what they do and why they're here before we jump into the discussion. So good morning, Angela, if you could go ahead and take the stage and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Nikki. Good morning, everyone. My name is Angela Thurman. I am the founder and CEO of Thurman Co., a project management consulting firm in Houston. I have a long background in aerospace, telecommunications, and manufacturing. And today, my team and I focus on providing our clients with project management, supply chain management, and contract management services, primarily for the highly regulated industries. And we focus on small to medium-sized organizations that need our services.
Thank you, Angela. And I would normally be joining from Houston as well. We're in fact sort of neighbors, but I'm actually in San Francisco this morning. So I know all of us, especially in this connected manufacturing world, are, all over the place. So I want to say hello to everyone joining us wherever you are in the world. You can go ahead and make some comments if you like. We're also going to do a question and answer session at the end. So feel free to drop your questions into the chat and we'll publish them later when we get done with the discussion. So next I want to introduce Nicole.
Hi, and good evening from England. This is the last session of the day in England, and then we go home. So I am the head of customer success at Mestec. We're a manufacturing execution software based in the UK, but we have a global footprint. We have recently been bought by a company called IIoT, who you may be more familiar with in the States, but I think there's a global audience today. Our manufacturing execution system is a purely cloud system, and it's wholly configurable. We like to configure and not to customize to make it absolutely specific to everybody who wants to use it, but keep updating it as quickly as possible. My background is 20 years in manufacturing, in world-class manufacturing and lean. So I'm an engineer by degree. I've moved more into digital technologies as the innovation in that area has progressed.
Very cool. Thank you, Nicole. And next we have Adish. Good morning. Or afternoon. What is it for you?
Good morning. Yeah, no, I'm out of Seattle right now, but I am based out of Central Time as well in Texas, actually in Austin. So yeah, nice to meet everyone. Adish Luitel here, principal analyst at ABI Research, and I've been in the supply chain space for over 7 years now. And just a quick intro on ABI Research. So basically, we're a tech intelligence company. Our team of analysts publish syndicated reports as well as custom research on transformative technologies across a bunch of different verticals like EVs, manufacturing, telco. I myself am aligned to the supply chain management and logistics research service. So technologies like connected vehicles, IoT technologies, warehouse robotics, and supply chain management digital solutions are some of my coverage areas.
Very cool. Well, I want to thank IIoT World for sponsoring this panel and, letting us talk about this topic and, getting a very nice panel of different perspectives in the industry together. So I guess we'll dive right into it. Lined up a few questions. We'll try to keep it to, a tight time. So let everybody go at the end of the day and make sure that we have time for questions and answers. But yeah, everybody, highly recommend that you network with each other in the comments. We may not get to all the questions, but that way, also, if you submit those, other people will see them, and potentially, we can have somebody answer the questions in the audience if we, the panelists, either don't get to them or we may not have all of the perspectives, right? So you can definitely, learn from us. We're here to talk about this topic from our experiences of different angles, doing analysis, being, looking at the market, being in the field. But we all can learn from each other as a large community. And I think there's, quite a few people here watching live. So please take the opportunity to network with each other, as well as learn from these wonderful people. So I'll start with my first question. Let's talk about data in supply chain visibility. This is, kind of the holy grail for everything, right? Can we use AI? What can we do it really requires data. Anything that we want to do with any of these new technologies. What role does data play in enhancing the supply chain visibility? And how is it possible to secure this, share this information securely across partners in the supply chain? Because, we talk about a chain, there's a lot of links there, and depending on what type of industry you're in, it may look a little bit different. But I'll throw that first question to Angela. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And has it gotten any easier to deal with the data, share the data in the supply chain?
Thanks, Nikki. So first of all, I just want to start with what is the data and why do we need it? So data plays a critical role in enhancing supply chain visibility by providing real-time insights into every stage of the supply chain process. And this visibility is crucial for several reasons. First of all, for predictive analytics. By analyzing the historical and real-time data, companies can then forecast demand more accurately and anticipate potential disruptions and adjust operations accordingly. And then for efficiency optimization, data helps identify the bottlenecks and inefficiencies, allowing for more streamlined operations across the entire supply chain. We also need that data for risk management. So enhanced visibility enables quicker responses to potential issues such as delays, shortages, or quality problems that may have arisen. And this helps minimize the impact on operations. Data also helps us with transparency and accountability. So with that detailed tracking information, companies can now ensure that all stakeholders, from suppliers to customers, are informed about the status of goods and operations, which builds trust and accountability. So I think that having that data at our fingertips now helps build the relationship within the supply chain, and that's just a critical piece of the relationship.
And I know you have a lot of experience in critical industries like aerospace, right, where things are highly regulated. A lot of information sharing is mandated, right? And part of it is also, I'm sure, everybody wants the best ability to work with their supply chain partners. But in the aerospace industry in particular, there's a lot more risk involved, right? Than let's say if you were, in the
lives are at stake
bottled water industry, right? How do these organizations securely share this data? Because a lot of this data is, not something that you would want to share with everyone. Are we still just using EDI? Like, do we have any, what is the common mode to securely share this data across the supply chain, Angela, in your experience?
Most companies have secure portals where this information is shared, and they require their suppliers to share that information through their secure portals.
Okay, very good, thank you. I heard we talk about risk, mitigating risk. We can't ever get away from risk completely, right, in the supply chain. But Adish, can we talk a little bit more? Maybe you can give us a perspective. How can taking a more data-driven approach really help de-risk things in the supply chain and help make them more resilient?
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, exactly. You said it best. We can never get to that 100% where we have a visibility of everything and we can see everything coming. I think a lot of supply chains are at that 40-50% of level of visibility right now. I think it's all about how do you get to that 60 or 70%. So yeah, it can be done in a lot of different ways. I think being data driven is the key. I would say one would be just enhanced visibility and transparency. That should be the goal, and that can be done via real-time tracking. And one way to do that is, a lot of your vehicles are connected. There are a lot of IoT sensors deployed in your containers. a lot of your devices, anything in your yards or your warehouse as well. So by leveraging these data from these IoT devices, these GPS trackers, ELD devices that your drivers carry, companies can kind of track their shipments in real time, and that can kind of reduce uncertainties and enable the better decision making. It also calls for more and more transparent operations. And to further Angela's point as well, I would say, you can really leverage these points that you have and kind of learn, you know, implement a lot of machine learning models as well, where you can kind of analyze historical data and predict future demands, and you can kind of um, get around instances of overstocking or out of stocks. So yeah, kind of detecting those seasonal variations and trends, that's really key. That really enables manufacturers to kind of adjust their supply chain strategies accordingly as well. And we have seen a lot of examples of companies do that, especially in the recent years. I would say Walmart are a really big example. They heavily use predictive analytics to optimize their inventory management. That has led to a lot of reduced stockouts that they have publicly stated themselves. Merck similarly, they leverage a lot of real-time data to optimize route planning. They use that to kind of reduce their fuel consumption as well. Unilever has, I mean, massive CPG company, pretty much present worldwide. They have been known to implement IoT and big data analytics for, not just supply chain forecasting, but to reduce wastages in their supply chain as well. And the other part to that, looking at all these trends and data would be kind of analyzing them from a bunch of different sources to identify potential macro as well as micro risks. So from your suppliers being unreliable to any kind of geopolitical instability that can disrupt the supply chain as well. And you can use that to enable advanced analytics, do a lot of create digital twins of your supply chain, or do scenario planning as well. So yeah, I mean, it's all about collecting the data, ingesting a lot of data from a bunch of different sources to a centralized single source of truth where you can get a 360 view of your data and making them actionable, making it cognitive, so that you can learn from your data and apply it in the future and be more risk averse.
Absolutely. I didn't mention this in my introduction, but I did used to actually work for a company that does exactly that in the retail space, predicting demand for as a cluster or at this point individual store basis, where we used to just send 100 of the same thing to every store, and then some would immediately go out of stock, and some would have that stock sitting around. We've gotten a lot better at that, but if you're in the audience and this all kind of maybe sounds a little far away from where you are, depending on the type of company you're in. Even Walmart didn't do it alone. So don't worry. It's all about picking the right partners, people that have deep domain expertise in your area and are, working on solving these problems. Not everybody has to reinvent the wheel. There are great partners that kind of specialize in different types of supply chains. And I remember in that world, a lot of it was sharing, the POS data down at the retail level. But like in the industry that I'm in now, it's actually very hard to get to that data because there are channel partners, and then you don't necessarily get that granularity back up from all of the partners in the supply chain. So again, I just like to like a lot of the technological discussions that I have, we talk about kind of the forefront of certain industries. There's a lot of technologies. And oftentimes there's a very long tail of organizations that lag and they don't have, access to all of the resources. They haven't implemented all of the latest technologies. So depending on where you are in maturity, there's still generally a lot to be had in the next step of maturity from wherever you are. But things are changing. So let's talk a little bit about, what's kind of needed in this field now with all these new tools and AI and data. Nicole, maybe I'll give you a turn here now, but you've been, doing this for a while, and you used to, work in the manufacturing, and now you're helping companies with the software. What are you seeing in sort of the change in these traditional roles? How have they changed, and what are some of the new skills and things that you need to really be successful?
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. I think in terms of traditional roles, there's probably three main areas. One is around increased efficiency, increased visibility, and probably customer focus. So in terms of the increased efficiency piece, automation has streamlined the processes, reducing manual work, improving efficiency in the supply chain, and that's led to more accurate forecasting and inventory management and further processing of orders. So the role in terms of the need for data analytic ability has changed completely in terms of, and the benefits in that increased efficiency are massive. In terms of the visibility piece, IoT and data analytics provide real-time visibility into the system and into the supply chain. And that transparency helps in tracking goods, optimizing routes, identifying bottlenecks, improving decision-making. So again, that quick thinking, more agile type of data confident person is required. And then in terms of the customer focus, I would say, digital transformation has really shifted the focus from a traditional supply-driven model to a more customer-centric approach. So companies are using digital channels to best, like you said, to best to understand customer demands, personalize offerings, and deliver that kind of seamless experience from order to delivery. So again, it's that real-time, fast action, quick thinking, using all the systems and all the data that are available to you to make those decisions and to be able to make decisions quickly. So yeah, I would say data agile professionals who are definitely more multi-skilled. So we talk at work about, having somebody who understands manufacturing, someone who understands data, someone who understands software, trying to find that person is finding a unicorn, I think. So we're all getting there, but we all have our strengths in different areas, but we're having to become more multifaceted.
Yeah, absolutely. I think no matter kind of what role you play in any of this, the ability to work with and understand data is I think a kind of a new requirement for most roles, honestly. I would be hard pressed to find one where some sort of literacy or ability to now work with this, whether it's, on a strategic level or even on the front lines, just being able to be the person that accurately inputs the data or give context to the data, whatever that looks like. We all play those parts. But again, not everybody's there yet. So Angela, can you tell us a little bit about the process of kind of becoming connected and what are some of the challenges that people encounter? Why aren't we all just connected yet and sharing everything?
Certainly. So digitizing and connecting the supply chains presents numerous benefits for all these companies, but it also comes with a range of challenges. And addressing these hurdles effectively is crucial for the organization that's aiming to leverage the full potential of digital transformation. So some of the key challenges that the company faces when digitizing and connecting their supply chains could include the integration of legacy systems. I would say that's the number one challenge. So many companies operate with legacy systems that are simply outdated, and it may not integrate seamlessly with this new digital technology. And upgrading or replacing this system or systems can be costly and disruptive. And there's also the risk that legacy data formats may not be compatible with the modern systems. So that necessitates complex data migration strategies. So just facing that hurdle causes some companies to simply not want to address a digital transformation. And then you also have the data security and privacy to face. So as more data is shared across these digital platforms, ensuring the continued security and privacy of this information becomes a significant challenge. So companies must continue to protect sensitive data against cyber threats and ensure compliance with increasingly stringent data protection regulations, such as GDPR. And failure to do so can lead to financial penalties and damage to their reputation. So that's another reason that they would be less interested. Then there's also the high initial costs. So the initial investment required for the digital transformation is also, or can be, substantial. So costs include not only the new software and the hardware, but also training the employees and possibly having to hire new staff with that necessary expertise that Nicole was just discussing. So with these significant upfront expenses, this can be a significant deterrent, especially for the smaller companies that could have limited budgets. And then, just as Nicole was discussing, there could be the talent and skills gap. And that could be for the workforce that's looking at this new digital technology. And so finding and retaining those employees who have skills in these new areas like data analytics, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity is also a challenge. And training existing staff, although that's an option, it requires time and resources as well. So those are just a few of the considerations.
Yeah. Are you, I guess, in your experience, how do people best, mitigate these risks? And is there, a point where I guess you get so big that you're going to have to make these investments, or is it just really a matter of like remaining competitive? If you don't invest in this, you'll eventually have too much disruption or not be able to remain competitive or meet the new customer expectations. I mean, people have such high expectations nowadays. They're not going to wait a few days to come back to the store when something is stocked later. They're used to ordering something and getting it right away. I guess I'm kind of making up an answer to my own question as I go. So
we do live in an instant gratification environment. Unfortunately, we're very spoiled, I think.
Yeah,
and
I know. And
expectations,
we can order something and get it the same day, right? Or before
we can get it delivered in 3 hours. And so customer expectations are very high. And I think that we have to recognize that if you don't make these investments, you will be left behind. And so it's a matter of when and not if.
Yeah.
And so the investment in your workforce to build up these talents is simply something that is it's going to be an investment you'll need to make. And a lot of people bridge that gap by bringing in consultants to help with the transition. And there are a lot of wonderful companies available to do that. So whatever new technology you're bringing in, maybe they have a on-site consulting team to help make that transition easier. And I think that many companies rely on that, and it does help. And so you're not left unsupported when you are making a digital transformation. And remember, digital transformation is a very broad term. I mean, digital transformations occurred the minute we started using spreadsheets instead of copying all of our accounting data on ledgers. So
it's a very relative term, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
So what I've seen, and in some cases, you've got sort of you've certain companies that are leaders that will take these steps earlier than others. And then you have companies that wait longer. They're either smaller, they have less expertise, they have less time, money. And oftentimes the technologies that become available to help them come into play to a point where they waited long enough and now there's finally something that actually helps them leapfrog. And or maybe not leapfrog, but shorten that sort of cycle that the earlier companies went through. And I know digital transformation has been one of those hairy terms that, as I heard it 10 years ago, I immediately thought of, a very long ERP implementation that, went over budget and didn't really live up to expectations. But I think that that's a very outdated, view, probably. Although I still probably see that happening, depending on how companies come at this. But maybe there's new technologies now that can help. So Adish, you have a broader overview of the market than the rest of us do. What key technologies are you seeing that are crucial for making this easier, more available to companies to be able to digitize and take advantage of uh, all of the potential of this connected supply chain?
Yeah, definitely. I would like to kind of add, build to Angela's point about kind of upgrading your legacy system as well. I mean, I've seen a bunch of warehouse operators, carriers, kind of still working on their WMS system that's been around since the mid '90s, really. So I think that's one of the main thing, kind of going to the cloud and really implementing edge computing as well, because computing really offers that level of scalable computational resource that enables supply chains to kind of manage really large volumes of data, and you can really run complex model on them as well without the need to invest in heavy infrastructure. So I think it's really the first step, the baby step really would be to kind of upgrade from your legacy on-prem infrastructure to something that's on the cloud. And over that, I mean, edge computing really, that's been a game changer for a lot of companies really, that kind of enables them to process data a lot closer to where actually is generated. So you know take your AI enabled dashcam, for example. That's got really fast LTE or 4G connectivity. Now you can run a bunch of insights. You don't need a gateway device in your truck to kind of detect your driver's behavior, for example. You can just do that through an AI enabled dashcam itself. So you can really kind of push those time sensitive decisions right away and kind of avoid a lot of disruptions. I would say apart from that, the implementation of AI and ML as well, that's really key. It's all about being proactive when it comes to kind of mitigating disruptions. And AI and ML actually helps do that, kind of identifying potential supply chain disruptions, or suggesting optimal use of resources or modalities, even carriers really, to make sure your supply chain is running smoothly. And AI on top of RPA as well, they can automate a lot of these routine tasks as well. Like for your warehouse operator or retailer, like let's say I need to restock day to day, just looking at the order volume, for example. You can automate that process. I have a dodgy carrier, for example. I can automate my invoicing and billing process, or I can automate the rerouting of shipments, or even my dispatch processes. So adjustments can kind of be on the fly when you're automating a lot of these processes by looking at the data that's already out there. On top of that, I would say advanced analytics, that's key as well as kind of using a lot of big data. A lot of companies are talking about big data a lot now. And the proof is really in the pudding. Like, you can see them utilize a lot of big data. So kind of using a lot of these large data sets, companies can kind of model various disruption scenarios as well as their potential impact. So that allows for them to prepare better for tomorrow and kind of build like really quick responses. In terms of a supply chain optimization perspective as well, big data can help optimize routes, inventories, and kind of reduce risks when it comes to kind of looking at your supply chain for tomorrow as well. And on top of that, I would say digital twin, something I was talking about before as well. That's really a lot of what a lot of supply chain solution providers really talk about as well, is the fact that digital twins can create these virtual replicas of physical assets or processes or systems that can be sort of used to simulate and test responses. Like, hey, I can create scenario A, scenario B, scenario C. That's probably the worst case scenario, and I can see where my shipments is and where it will be tomorrow, and make adjustments accordingly and take more of a proactive approach. So this
Yeah.
can really provide those deep insights that manufacturers or any kind of retailers are looking for. I would say apart from that, there are two other key technologies to really think about. One would be location and mapping technologies, right from inside the warehouse, like indoor positioning technologies, to anything that's GPS or GIS as well, that can help you optimize your delivery routes or schedules, that can just make you less vulnerable and help you avoid disruptions like your red light, or even anything that's got to do with weather, for example. So anything that's got to do with locational risks can be kind of mitigated through geospatial or location technologies as well. And apart from that, kind of a lot of manufacturers are talking about getting their suppliers, getting their carriers or their buyers to buy into their system as well. So, and you can definitely do that using a lot of collaborative platforms and tools like your supply chain control towers, which basically buys in a lot of stakeholders within your supply chain, that and you can use that to kind of facilitate real-time collaboration among a bunch of partners as well, and get to that informational sharing level as well. And just talking about some of examples of successful implementation as well, the first two companies that come into my mind would be Amazon and DHL. I mean, we were talking about instant deliveries and customer expectations just being right up there. So the Amazonification of things, so to speak, that's a real thing. And they have done that. They have been deploying AI and robotics extensively in their yards and their warehouses to kind of manage and kind of mitigate disruptions, as well to maintain high efficiency levels as well. And DHL seems to be doing a lot of that as well. They are deploying a lot of warehouse robotics, for example. They are deploying a lot of IoT technologies and leveraging a lot of AI to kind of use predictive analytics for maintenance of its delivery vehicles, as well as other operations that could kind of help them mitigate any kind of disruptions.
Yeah. And so a lot of that I hear you touch on really is kind of the logistics side of things, with the order fulfillments and warehousing efficiency. Nicole, and I guess we're getting close on time here, so we'll just kind of start wrapping this up. And Adish, thank you. You made a great pivot into let's talk a little bit about success. What does that look like? We know it exists out there. There's a lot of challenges, right? And not everybody has gotten to this point where they'd like to be. But Nicole, you come more from kind of the manufacturing rather than the logistics side of things, right? Can you share any examples or success stories with us?
Absolutely. I'm just to link. I put my hand up there. So.
Oh,
A question for Adish around technologies. Would you say blockchain is one of those technologies, one of those emerging technologies? You didn't mention it then, and I wondered if you just missed that off your list, or because I personally within the supply chain I see that blockchain is one of those emerging technologies. I don't know if do you agree, Adish?
Yeah, I fully agree. I think we are seeing a lot of use of blockchain
Yeah,
technology as well.
yeah,
I definitely missed that out. So yeah, great catch
yeah,
there,
no,
Nicole.
cool.
And
Yeah.
I think you stating that you really use it, I think that's really a testament to that. We are seeing a lot of manufacturers use pretty much a foolproof decentralized platform for a lot of collaboration and planning among their
Yeah,
stakeholders. And
yeah,
blockchain seems to be the way to go. And although I mean it was a very prominent topic a few years ago, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. But in terms of applications, that does not seem to be true. I
yeah,
mean, you see a lot of manufacturers and carriers definitely use that.
yeah. So when we talk about examples where we've been involved in, we're a part of that supply chain. I would say in terms of the food industry, kind
Hmm.
of that field, is it called field to fork? So that kind of whole traceability, right from what cow on what field goes onto what into what box onto what table, and having that availability of information all the way through that supply chain. We play our part in that central section of accepting information and then passing information on to make sure that there is that absolutely immutable supply chain link all the way through. We work in the med device industry, so the regulations there in terms of who did what to which part when, which block of metal it came to, and to which body it went into, and again holding that information and making sure that it transports all the way through the supply chain is of super importance and is being done right now. And again, Adish, you spoke around kind of the what if planning, and we have advanced planning and scheduling built into our software, and that a customer rings up, there's an urgent order, and it's like, which one should we push back, which one should we pull forward, and that kind of what if scenario planning. I think that's super important in kind of speeding up or improving the efficiency and the OTIF for manufacturers themselves. So that I would say those are the sort of three key kind of examples of successes where we've kind of played our part within the supply chain.
And it definitely seems like, again, it's kind of a risk reward scenario. Those are industries or areas of a potential high risk, right? Whether it's foodborne illness, you need traceability. Medical devices, clearly you're talking, about lives in the hands of these devices going into people. So the risk of failure is very high. And so I would assume that therefore they've had to act on this much faster than maybe some other industries that are less critical, or in small businesses, right? That this is not something that's an easy challenge for them. So we're getting here to the Q&A. I want to encourage people to put any questions they want to ask the panelists into the Q&A here on the side, and then I'll wrap it up with one more question. I'll bring it back to you, Angela. I'm a big advocate for the long tail, the mom and pops, the small businesses. It's what makes the world go round. And people that take the risk of running and starting businesses, I have a huge amount of respect for, but they often struggle with these sorts of things, right? They started a business because they're good at a thing, making something, some service. How can small businesses or small to medium-sized companies benefit from maybe partnerships rather than trying to, again, you can't reinvent the wheel if you don't have the resources or the know-how. So are there ways that you've seen smaller companies be able to take advantage and, get more mature with partners?
Sure. So small and medium-sized businesses can gain significantly by engaging in digital partnerships with their supply chain. And these partnerships can help level the playing field between smaller firms and larger corporations by providing access to advanced technologies and broader networks. And some of the benefits that can be derived from these collaborations would include access to advanced technologies. So digital partnerships can help those small to medium-sized businesses to access the state-of-the-art technologies that they otherwise might not be able to afford on their own. And this includes cloud computing services, advanced analytics, artificial technology, and IoT solutions. And by leveraging these technologies, the small to medium-sized businesses can then enhance their own operational efficiency, improve decision-making, and increase their own competitive edge. They can also bring about cost reduction. And through these digital partnerships, the SMBs can share the cost associated with this technology implementation and maintenance. And it's the maintenance where the real savings can be realized. So these costs include the software licenses, systems upgrades, and cybersecurity measures, which can be distributed among all the partners, making that investment more affordable and manageable for all. It can also bring about improved market reach and scalability. So the digital platforms can expand market access by connecting the SMBs with new customers, suppliers, and business partners globally. These connections can then lead to new business, other opportunities, and allow the SMBs to scale operations more rapidly without the need for significant capital investment in marketing and distribution networks.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Angela. I'll let you finish.
Have a comment, Nikki?
No, I was just going to say, I've really seen kind of the rise of these digital, whether digital partnerships or platforms that focus on a particular niche and really, create these platforms or services to serve the small businesses in that niche, right? So they all can kind of leverage their being a group, right? And somebody, either the third party or let's say a coalition, like an industry association, or can you give us a few examples that, like in your world, what do those partnerships look like? Are you talking about things like marketplace platforms or logistics, or just straight up going to your suppliers and saying, hey, can we partner up on this and share the cost? What do you see as the avenues for companies if they want to try to engage their partners in these digital partnerships? Where do they look, or how do they go about it?
Well, for example, Thurman Co. has recently entered into a partnership with iSolve Global Solutions. And as a result of that, we're now able to offer our customers more robust business solutions because we've combined our business capabilities, and we're reaching a wider audience because they have a market, and we have a market, and we have a wider audience. We have more robust capabilities. We can rely on one another for marketing, and my company has access to the digital platforms that iSolve has that otherwise I wouldn't have had, and I wouldn't be able to offer my customers their solutions and their digital technologies. So that's just one example of how that combination, that partnership has enhanced the solutions that we've been able to offer, and it was very easy to create the partnership.
Yeah, I think when you have a win-win, that's clear. And in this case, when we are digitized, we can have the data that backs this up, right? And
Yes. Mm-hmm.
now that, again, we have this global market, right? We all are here from different places, different parts of the world. We can do business together. Really, there's a very large open world out there of digital partnerships, not just in the supply chain, but in the sales or marketing. Really, there's so many different ways now to leverage networks that already exist.
Right.
And to be able to become bigger by not having to replicate yourself or open up offices in every corner of the globe, or, continue to double your warehouse space. There are so many different ways that you can leverage what other people have already invested in. So I love that, Angela. If there is one, I guess, takeaway, and this is kind of my personal, if you put me on a panel, I'm going to say partnerships, collaborate, people. There is so much more value to be had when we work together instead of siloing yourself and trying to go at it alone, whether that's technology, hiring people. I mean, all as I've learned more in my career, the more I realize how little I know versus, I used to think that I knew a lot about a lot of things. Now I know there are people out there that are touching things on a day-to-day basis more than I am. They're, researching different things than I am. I can learn from anybody, even in a field where I feel like I know a lot, right? And I think everybody that comes and attends these types of events, they're here to learn. I appreciate all of your time coming to talk to everybody in this session. I hope you don't mind me saying, I believe that, you guys are a resource that anybody here that is attending this session should be able to reach out to you guys, whether for advice, consultation. Appreciate you guys being able to come and being willing to share some of your stories, some of your insights. So I'll throw out one last, plug for the Q&A. If anybody does have questions for the panelists, please go ahead and put them in the side in the Q&A, and they should be published for me to read. But if no questions come up, I think we can call it a day, wrap it up. For those that are in the evening, you can actually go home, finish your day. For me, I'm just getting started, but this was a wonderful way to share, spend some time here early morning on the West Coast. Meet some great folks. So if nothing else, again, I don't see any questions in the Q&A. So unless my wonderful panelists, do you have any further questions for each other?
I've got an addition to what you were saying, Nikki, in terms of I find the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So yeah. And there's so much going in here that I think there's more coming out the other side than there is going in one side. So but I think growing concerns around sustainability and environmental sustainability, and how the supply chain bears quite a big part in that, and data plays a big part in helping to reduce the carbon impact of manufacturing and the goods and services that we consume. I think that for me, that's one of the big trends that's really coming through. In the UK, we're all talking about net zero. So, I'm not sure what it's like in the States, but
Well, we do have a brand new Sustainable Manufacturing Expo co-located at one of the manufacturing shows. ATX West is traditionally a automation manufacturing show here on the West Coast. And they're just now adding a new sustainability co-located show to that. So I think those conversations are happening here as well. Maybe a little bit less on the forefront. Again, I deal with a lot of smaller businesses. So a lot of these big terms, they kind of start more on a corporate level, companies with more resources and then therefore more impact, right? But the small businesses, again, as we leverage being more connected, it's really something that everybody can take part in.
Well, so I suppose it's like, it's like digitization. It's like about, why do you do it? Do you do it because you want a great technology, because you want to do industry 4, or actually you're doing it because you're saving money?
Right.
And when you look at carbon cost and you look at actually the energy costs, and if you reduce energy and you reduce the amount of material, then, it's a no-brainer whether you're a big company or a small company. So
I would encourage all of you connect with these experts, and we're all experts in our different ways, right? So I know some people are scared of that word. I think we all have expertise in our own experience and in our own little sphere, and would encourage everyone to connect with the panelists on LinkedIn and stay up to date with their research. And I know you guys do other events and things like that. So thank you everybody for joining us. I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up and call it a day.